With me in the studio is political commentator and, of course, my fellow talk presenter, Russell Quirk. Welcome, Russell.
Good evening. There's a lot to be irritated by, isn't there?
Oh, my God, yes. Let's start, shall we? Honestly, folks, you probably noticed, I think it's now about 4 days in a row, dating back to about last Wednesday, extracting the weekend, when you all have to struggle by without my shows for a whole 2 days. Must be tough for you, I know. But seriously, for now about 4 days in a row for this show, I've led. My top story has been yet another deranged decision by our immigration courts. Either the initial decision or an appeal. The government, to be fair, the Home Office is always trying to deport people, and then these lunatic judges these left-wing judges, they're obviously Guardian readers. Don't forget, folks, that the establishment in Britain now is left-wing. Left of wing is where the establishment is. The Guardian, the BBC, all of those people. Those of us who aren't quite left wing, we're the outriders, we're the rebels these days. Don't you worry about that. These judges are symptomatic of the culture of this country now. So we've had paedophiles allowed to stay in this country because they got their own kids and they've got a right to a female life. We've got a rapist. Last week we reported on a Ghanaian rapist, got 6 years in jail for raping a British woman at his flat in Watford. He did 6 years, and when he came out, not only was he allowed to stay, he was awarded substantial damages, more than £100,000, because at one point during our attempts to deport him, we put him in the wrong kind of detention centre. We put him in a deportation centre when he should have been in a prison. So we gave him more than £100,000. Last week we gave a woman £150,000, a Pakistani woman. All these people who broke into our country illegally, we gave her £150,000 for the same reason, because she said that we treated her like a criminal, Russell, and she broke into this country. She came here on a student's visa and deliberately outstayed that visa. Now, that is against the law. When you break the law, you're called a criminal. She was a criminal. This country has just paid her £150,000 for treating her like a criminal. Do you see where I'm going with this? And now, Russell, this arrant insanity, this lunacy, that a guy who comes here in 2001 under a false name and lied that he was from the former Yugoslavia. Despite that lie, despite that illegal attempt to break into our country, we, of course, in 2007 gave him citizenship. Then a couple of years later, 2010-ish, he went to jail for 2 years because he was caught with £250,000 in cash that he couldn't account for. This was deemed not unreasonably to be the proceeds of crime. So he went to jail for 2 years because he had £250,000 in cash he couldn't account for. When he came out, he should have been deported. Priti Patel said, "Get out of the country. We don't want you here." Quite right. Well done, Priti, for once. But he appealed. And then he appealed again. His first appeal failed. Second appeal has just succeeded on the basis that he's got a son who apparently is a vulnerable kid. Apparently he's got a few challenges in life. He's 10 years old. And if they go abroad, he likes chicken nuggets, but he doesn't like the taste of foreign chicken nuggets. So if they send him back to Albania, he'll be forced to struggle by without the delicious taste of British chicken nuggets. So for that reason, he's been allowed to stay. I barely know where to start there. Do you?
It's like yet another April the 1st immigration story, isn't it? But as you say, that they are becoming much more frequent. The liberal judiciary here, who of course are effectively channeling the European Convention of Human Rights here. That's really what this is all about. So when the convention was looped into British law in 1998, thanks to our friend Tony Blair, it meant that the British Human Rights Act had to reflect the European Convention on Human Rights. So that is still in place despite Brexit. That did not unwind itself despite that vote in 2016. So What we now have is this liberal interpretation by our judiciary, particularly these tribunal judges, who, as you say, are activist lefties, yogurt knitters.
They don't like this country. I think they see themselves as being at war with a repressive, racist regime here in awful Britain.
But they're the same people.
Typical Guardian
We're the same
readers.
people that we see marching through the streets saying, you know, all refugees welcome. And when some, you know, clever centre-right journalist goes up to them and says, well, do you have any living in your house? They say, oh no, my house isn't big enough, or oh no, I rent and I'm not allowed to. They're those types of people. So they think that they're doing the right thing by way of virtue signalling. And the problem is, of course, as judges, they're largely unaccountable. You know, no one can do anything about these judges' decisions. Except I would advance, actually, that we either come out of the ECHR and we unhook it from the Human Rights Act in Britain, or what we should do is like we do in the States, or they do in the States, which is to make these judges elected. And if they keep making stupid decisions, then they lose their tenure, because clearly what these judges are doing in terms of allowing someone to stay here, despite the fact that he lied about where he came from, he's clearly a convicted criminal, he's lied left, right and centre, so he's effectively committed immigration fraud without any doubt at all. You know, this person's been allowed to stay because of this overtly liberal judge. And the fact that we've got a Home Secretary in Priti Patel, back in the old days, the Home Secretary would make a decision either on a sentence that was given to someone or on a deportation order, and that was gospel. That was it.
Bloody
That's
wasn't.
changed.
It never has been.
No. Well, no, the Home Secretary...
Once it goes to the tribunals, it's gone.
No, the Home Secretary used to have the discretion to say, so in the case of Axel Rudabakana, that sentence being seen as overtly lenient, the Home Secretary could step in and say, yes, I will review it.
But the Home Secretary hasn't got the right to
because of the ECHR. No, because of the ECHR.
Well, no, it's because of the courts. Because
the courts are bound by the ECHR.
Decisions do not supersede, do not trump the decision of a judge.
But my point is they should.
Yeah, I agree with that, but they don't, and they never have.
Yeah.
They never have.
So, if the spectre here is the ECHR, which I'll remind everybody, Kemi Badenoch, in her run-up to be the Conservative Party leader...
She wants to stay in it,
would
folks.
not commit to leaving
She
it.
doesn't want to leave it.
I know.
She doesn't. She says it's too...
So you and I will continue to talk about these travesties every week. Yeah. Every week. Forevermore.
So all that happens is these shyster immigration lawyers, you know, all make a lot of money, legal aid. By the way, you know, we pay for all these cases. So this guy who's been allowed to stay, as of now, the case is still continuing. Hopefully common sense will prevail in the end, but he's been through 2 appeals, and as things stand, he's allowed to stay because the judge says, well, you know, the kid likes English chicken nuggets. We can't force him to eat Albanian chicken nuggets, so he must be able to stay. But mainly it's the ECHR, as Russell says. So we're paying for all this. This is hundreds of thousands of pounds. So apart from everything else, we pay for these people's legal aid. So they come here, they break into our country, they break our laws, they go to jail, they get very high paid lawyers to work their case, then to work the appeals against their deportation, and we pay for it. I would suggest we stop paying for it. Why don't we say, you want to come to this country, you better have enough money to pay for your lawyers. If you can't, tough luck. But I would say, even better than that, I would say you break into our country without the right documentation on an illegal vessel. You are hereby a lawbreaker, you are detained, and you are going home. Try that.
But this Klevis Disha, whatever his real name is, has broken the law not once, not twice, but 3 times. Broken into the country illegally, lied about the fact he's from Albania, because obviously he knew that that wouldn't give him as much traction when it came to his asylum case, and then committed crimes to accumulate £250,000 in cash. Now, there used to be a thing called an outlaw, which is if you committed breaches of the law, you were then outside of the law. How can someone that's committed not 1, not 2, but 3 acts of criminality be allowed to go through the appeal process in the first place? They just shouldn't be allowed to.
Absolutely. And Kemi, if you're watching, and all you people in the Tory opposition, the remainders of the Tories in Parliament, you know this. If you don't leave the ECHR And if you don't start getting tough on these migrants, you're even more toast, you're even more history than it already looks as if you are, because the Tories are looking as if they're flatlining, and it's partly because you've got a damn leader who, when people say we're going to leave the ECHR and make our own decisions about migrants, turns around and snobbily says it's a little more complicated than that. It never is. It never is. When Westminster politicians, for that matter Washington politicians, they're always on the left and they start saying it's a little more complicated, it's very complex. It's not. They're just trying to enshrine their left-wing claptrap. It isn't complicated to leave the ECHR. Oh, but it's enshrined in the Equalities Act. Unenshrine it. It's not difficult. Simple as that.
Can I just add a couple of things? First of all, if you look at the Daily Mail article here, this Albanian Klevis Disha is now 39. He came to this country illegally when he was 15.
I know.
He's been here illegally for 24 years and been a criminal in that time. Here's something else I'd like to suggest.
Well, not technically, because he was given citizenship in 2007.
But despite coming here illegally.
Yeah, but we gave him citizenship,
Stupid.
so he wasn't. Yeah, I know. They break it. That's what happens.
Stupid.
They break into the country,
but mate,
then we give them
thing.
citizenship.
I'm going to suggest something else, right? That what the judge should consider is a whip round of people like me and you. I'm quite happy to pay for his kids' chicken nuggets forevermore until he's 18, let's say, on the basis that he can still be deported. We will ship him the McCain's chicken nuggets or whatever he wants on a weekly basis for him to consume every day, if that is the difference between getting rid of them or not.
It's a thought, but I would say sod him and sod his chicken nuggets and sod his dad. Get out of the country. You're not welcome. Why don't we do that? What do you think, folks?